By the time this new forest is fully planted next year, it will cover 10 fields with 35,000 trees.
So you can see these things are starting to get ready for the winter. They're putting out their winter buds.
Smithsonian senior scientist John Parker designed the project known as Biodiversity.
So we're trying to figure out whether or not an ecosystem with lots of species functions any better or worse than an ecosystem with only a few species.
Parker hopes to prove that diversity matters on a grand scale as the trees mature over time. They've been planted beside a native forest and above a stream that flows into the Chesapeake Bay, the nation's largest estuary and a major source of drinking water for millions of people. Parker says the bay water quality is bad, exacerbated by nutrient runoff from decades of farming in this region, including this former cornfield.
What our study is doing is we take those 35 years of pre-data, we put a forest in, now we can compare what happens when you had corn versus what happens when you have a native forest planted in this sort of diverse arrangement. If we can plant even more of that watershed with forest, do we take out even more of those nutrients?
And then this was the bottom leaf that I'm holding in my hand.
Data collection is ongoing. Smithsonian research fellow Susan Cook-Patton and intern Emily Dubois collect leaf samples to see how well the saplings have fared since they were planted 6 months ago.
If we look at insect damage on this first leaf, I would say, that's about 10%? Mm-hmm.
The leaves are analyzed in her lab. Cook-Patton says the data adds to the picture of the forest that will emerge over the next century.
If you don't have a baseline, you really don't know what you've lost or gained in the future. And so if you can have a snapshot in time and move forward from there, you can actually learn a lot more than if we just keep doing an experiment in 2 years and then 10 more years in the future we do another short-term experiment. So scientifically, that's incredible.
And its presence on the landscape will be impressive. Right now, while it's hard to spot the trees through tall grasses, volunteer Phil Bishop remembers single-handedly planting 600 seedlings. He says his knees got a bit weary, but he was glad to help out.
I could make a contribution here, and that's really what I wanted to do, was to be part of a program. I'll not see any results out of this, more than likely, given my age and everything else.
But he adds volunteering is good for the soul, and in the case of biodiversity, good for the soil too. Roseanne Skirbel, VOA News in Centerville, Maryland.